Why does it feel like everyone's always trying to sell us the perfect productivity system? Oh, hey there. My name's Jake, creator of the world's first and only perfect productivity system. I don't care how good your system is, it's probably not going to work for me, and honestly, it probably won't work for you. You'll be amazed by the revolutionary productivity technology we've packed into this tiny little device. The thing with productivity is that it's a very personal experience. I used to be just like you, constantly spending my time doing my work instead of building the perfect productivity system. Sure, there's something to be said about having a system versus not having a system. This isn't just a productivity system. It's a productivity way of life. But I think the landscape of productivity as it is today is warped into something a little bit more harmful than it is helpful. I'm so confident that this system will work for you that I'm offering a no money back guarantee. If it doesn't work, you're not trying hard enough. In my opinion, the best productivity system is one that holds all the distractions at bay long enough for you to actually get the work done that really matters. But sometimes it feels like productivity advice is more about how to build a system and how to optimize every second of your day, when really none of that's helpful. What's helpful is just doing the work, just writing that script, just filming that video, just making that phone call. You see, I believe that it doesn't really matter what system you follow, as long as that system results in you being able to focus more deeply on the work that actually matters, then I think the system's great. And so today I wanted to share 3 problems that I see with productivity systems that I don't think really get enough attention. The first problem with crafting productivity systems is that any time you spend on the system is time not spent doing your actual work. When we try to craft something that's perfect and beautiful, we're just going to end up with something that doesn't really serve the purpose of our actual work. We need to ask ourselves, what is the simplest form my productivity system can take, instead of trying to introduce overcomplicated versions of processes that really we just need to get to work on, instead of trying to craft the way that we're going to be going about it. We just need to go about it. That's why most of my productivity system revolves around just these 2 things: paper and a pen. When it comes to whether or not we should be crafting things, I really like the thinking of Tiago Forte in his book Building a Second Brain. In it, he talks about how the truth is, any system that must be perfect to be reliable is deeply flawed. A perfect system you don't use because it's too complicated and error-prone isn't a perfect system. It's a fragile system that will fall apart as soon as you turn your attention elsewhere. We have to remember that we are not building an encyclopedia of immaculately organized knowledge. We are building a working system. This makes me think about that the real goal of building a system of productivity should be building a system that works instead of working on the system. Of course, he does talk about the need to perform maintenance on the system that you create, but the maintenance should be more around organizing the work that you've actually completed within the system, rather than trying to tweak and perfect the system as a whole. And besides, if all you have to show for your work at the end of the day is just some weird conglomerate of random processes and systems that look like they should be helpful but don't actually help you produce work, then can you say that you actually worked on anything, or did you just build a machine that has no clear purpose? The second problem that we run into is that most of the time we're running potential systems through our head instead of through the actual work in front of us, which means that the system we come up with is more reflective of our ideas of our work rather than the actual work itself. Let's say, for example, you want to build a nice Lego set. The instructions are all right there. You get pre-numbered bags, and as long as you follow all of the instructions properly, you will start to make progress towards building an actual Lego set. But the problem is that this is not how most work goes. We don't just get a bag of predetermined things to do with a set of instructions. Most of the time, we're just given a bunch of random pieces and told to figure it out. Now, the instructions and manual that we took so long to put together don't apply to the work that's actually in front of us. I mean, have you ever seen wheels on the Millennium Falcon? This leaves us with a choice. Do we get our hands dirty with the actual work we need to do? Or do we ignore all of that and stick with this pretty little manual that we made that serves no real purpose but looks really nice and gave us the feeling of being productive while we just kind of tried to sweep our work under the rug? One thing that's been true for me is that your productivity system can't necessarily be built around your work. Instead, it needs to sort of reveal itself to you through your work. What that means is just when you actually start to do the work itself will make it clear what systems and processes you need to put in place in order to be able to do it more effectively. Sometimes you just have to listen to the work itself and let it tell you what it needs to be built into. The third problem is that building a system is actually pretty fun. Using the system is kind of boring. Thinking about all the possibilities that a system could produce or that you could accomplish if you just had these couple of things ironed out is really exciting and interesting. You imagine yourself in a place that this system could get you to. And that feeling itself is kind of addicting because we're just imagining all the different ways that it could go well, all the different things we could accomplish, all of the ways that we could finally achieve our wildest dreams. And then the actual work starts to happen and it's not exciting. It's hard, it's difficult, it's a pile of random pieces that we don't know what to make of. And so our temptation is to go back to the thing that feels good and the thing that felt like we were making progress towards our wildest dreams. In his book, The War of Art, Steven Pressfield talks about the feeling of resistance that we get whenever we're trying to create something meaningful that comes from our heart, that is for a higher purpose, that serves other people, that is going to be something that we're very proud of. And one thing that he talks about is that during his time in the Marine Corps, he realized that what the Marine Corps is really good at is teaching people how to be miserable and be okay with it. And in fact, even kind of like it. He basically alludes to this being a superpower for the artist, or somebody, in our case, just trying to get some work done. He says that the artist must be like a Marine. He has to know how to be miserable. He has to love being miserable. He has to take pride in being more miserable than any other soldier or swabby or jet jockey, because this is war, baby, and war is hell. And I'll tell you what, actually getting work done, that's hell. No one likes that. Building a system, that's cool. And being okay with being miserable is what's going to set you aside from everyone else who's going to start a project, get bored halfway through, and call it a day, and maybe just move on to something else. If you can power through boredom, power through the misery of actually doing your work, then you are going to be in a better place than most people, which is why you don't need a system to just get to work. He goes on to explain that the professional plays it as it lays. He says the professional conducts his business in the real world. When we're trying to get stuff done, we need to do it as it comes to us and as the real world demands it to be done, not some idea of how it should be done, not some manual that dictates how things should be done. We need to take this pile of random pieces and build something amazing. And only actually getting your hands dirty and getting into the nitty-gritty of what your work demands in that moment, that's the only way you're actually going to get something done and be productive. Not by tweaking a system and constantly worrying if it's good enough or if you could be 10% more efficient. And take it from me, I've spent tons of time trying to plan this video, but really all those plans are actually not what this video has turned into. So just do the work, just start, because the work will reveal itself to you, and the system you need to enact and create to be able to do this will make itself clear. And so what are you waiting for? It's time to get to work. These things are literally flying off the shelves.